Hey, WordPress people, welcome back to the WPMRR WordPress podcast. I'm Joe.
And I'm Wolverine.
And you're listening to the WordPress Business Podcast. We've got Wolverine on the podcast this week, one of the most popular X-Men around. What's going on, Wolverine?
Nothing, man. Just hanging out. Looking forward to hopefully be filming a new movie here soon. Also, you guys can't see this on the podcast, but I have an aggressively red beard that I've grown out for the new movie.
Yeah, nice. Everyone knows that Wolverine is a redhead, so
yeah, secretly. I mean, who doesn't want to be a redhead? Especially in elementary school, I was so popular.
Cool, Wolverine. The redheaded Wolverine on the podcast this week, also known as Shane Barker. Shane, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, about what you do, maybe like as it relates to the WordPress space. It's kind of a WordPress podcast, so most listeners are WordPress professionals, but you do some stuff with WordPress and some stuff in the marketing world as well. So yeah, give us a little play-by-play here.
Yeah, so I've actually been like in the digital space for about 25 years. I actually teach at UCLA. I teach a personal branding and how to be an influencer course, and I've used WordPress forever. I mean, it's been the platform that I use for all my clients when we used to develop websites quite a bit in my earlier days. I mean, I say my earlier days, probably 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago. But we use WordPress for my own website, obviously index as well. I mean, there's nothing, everything's phenomenal about it when it comes to keywords and getting indexed and all the fun stuff. So I do that. I have a consulting company called shanebarker.com. I also have a few different companies that I have. I mean, they're all, like I said, in the digital space that all come into driving traffic and converting traffic. And so that's kind of my expertise, but also the influencer side of things, because I've been writing about it for about 7 or 8 years, and I teach a course at UCLA.
Cool, man. Teaching the course at UCLA is actually, I didn't know that about you. I did a little research about you. I was like, what's up with Shane? What's he doing online? But I didn't catch that UCLA part. As someone who's been in the digital space for a little while, I don't hear about a lot of like teaching of this kind of stuff, especially in universities. So that sounds like that's kind of new to me. How did that come about?
It's crazy, man. It's actually kind of a funny story. So this was probably about 2 years ago. I had a local junior college, because I'm here in Sacramento, California, and a local junior college, one of the instructors that I've known for a while, reached out to me, said, "Hey, we really like for you to teach a course, because a lot of in a roundabout way, she understood the instructors that we have are old and they're not in the current space, right? They're not on Instagram, they're not on TikTok, they're not on wherever. I don't think TikTok was around 2 years ago, but anyways, you get my point. They're not on these platforms, and so we're really looking for a practitioner. And I said, well, it sounds awesome. Let's look into this. And they said, well, but you have to have your master's degree. And I said, okay, well, then let me go back and get my master's. So I was looking into my master's degree. And then 2 weeks later, I had UCLA reach out to me and said, hey, we're hiring for this position, this personal branding, how to be an influencer. And so I sent them an email back, and I was like, well, hey, just so you guys know, like, I don't have my master's, and they said, that's not a problem. I said, what do you mean? Really? So I said, okay. So I flew down there, and they're like, yeah, we're really looking for a practitioner. We're looking for somebody that's in the space. It's such a new space. We just know a lot of the instructors aren't going to know how to teach it, and we want somebody that's actually been in the space. And so it was interesting to me, because usually it's not that way, right? I mean, unfortunately, academia or the university systems, they're like, you have to go through certain things, right? You have to do this, and you have to get your master's, you have to do this. And a lot of the times you're not grandfathered in if you have, 20 years of background in marketing, right? Like that should be better than any degree that you received 20 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, they reached out to me, and it was because of the content that I was writing, because of my website, obviously that was WordPress, and that was indexing well. And they read my articles and said, "Hey, we think you'd be a good fit." And that's how I got the job. Like, I didn't even apply for it. Like, they came after me, so it was kind of a crazy little deal. And I'll be honest, the first time they emailed me, I thought I got hacked. I thought somebody was hacking me and trying to hey, UCLA wants to hire you. And I was like, "Oh, sounds good, guys." Like, all right, okay, whatever, buddy. Okay, let me give you my account number. But anyways, it was a real deal. And then all of a sudden, I had a job at UCLA.
Nice. That's funny. A lot of opportunities that people have, you put yourself in good opportunities you put yourself in a good position to be lucky to get opportunities, but a lot of times opportunities kind of find you, it goes both ways.
It's a crazy deal, man. It's a crazy world.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So teaching this stuff at UCLA. So you must know a thing or two about influencers, personal branding, that kind of stuff. My first question is like, what makes someone an influencer? Like, how would you define an influencer as someone who knows tons about the topic?
Yeah, I mean, it's influencer is like a dirty word these days. People are like, oh, you're an influencer. Like what warrants an influencer? Like at what point do you go, hey, you know what? Now I have influence over my community or whatever that is, right? So the thing is it used to be follower count. People are like, oh, if you get X amount of followers and you're in theory an influencer. For me, it really comes down to it's not necessarily a follower count. It's if you've built a community. And your community listens to you, right? So you, Joe, as an example, you are an influencer. You might not look at yourself that way, but you have a podcast. You have a heavy amount of people that use WordPress, right? You're niched down in your space. And so if you go and you have a sponsor on your podcast and whatever it is, it's SEMrush or whatever that is, there's people that are going to say, well, if Joe uses it, then maybe I should use it, right? And there's going to be some validity to that because you actually use those programs or software. So an influencer, once again, does not have to be, people think Instagram, it's kind of like the first thing, oh, that must be an influencer. An influencer can be a reporter, it can be a blogger, it can be a vlogger, it can be anybody that posts content on Instagram, it can be TikTok, it can be Twitter. It's just somebody that has built out some kind of a social media platform or built out a website, and they have people that follow them and that like what they put out there and are willing to potentially purchase something, a product or a service that somebody either reviews or talks about. So we have like YouTube, you have unboxings. I mean, there's literally hundreds of different ways that you can use it or work with an influencer. And an influencer, once again, does not have to be somebody that has 1 million followers on Instagram. That doesn't mean that instantly they're an influencer. You can have high numbers, but that doesn't mean you're influencing people. So I think that's always a misnomer about it must be the follower count. And that's not always the deal.
Yeah, I hear that. I feel like when I think about influencer, like I follow a few people who I guess I would consider influencers, right? Like I'm a YouTube person, so I'm on YouTube, watching different videos, and like Casey Neistat is someone who like I watch a lot of his videos because I'm very interested in his life and the things that he does, and so. This influencer thing, I agree with you. Some people are like, kind of like, influencer, that's like a dirty word. Like get that vocabulary out of here. But I like to think about it more as just like the concept behind it, I think is what's more important than the actual word or terminology of it. But can you talk a little bit more about like follower count versus actually being an influencer or like size of your email list sort of things? I've always felt that these can definitely be vanity metrics, but what's like kind of the difference between just having a big email list or a big audience and having people actually like, follow what you do and trust and have trust in you?
Yeah. I mean, I think the issue is that brands, for years, they've always looked at follower count, right? And that actually has started I'm not going to call it an epidemic because people think it's like rampant and people are dying because of it, but because of like fake followers. Right. And adding fake followers to your account. So the issue is if you're a brand and you're going to an influencer and you say, hey, listen, you have 20,000 or 25,000 people following you, so we'll give you $1,000. But if you get up to 50,000, we'll give you 2,500. But if you get up to 100,000, we usually pay those influencers 10 grand. And then guess what? As an influencer, I go, okay, how do I get to 100,000 faster, right? It took me 5 years to get 25,000, but how do I get to 100,000? Like I don't have another 15 years to do it, right? And then people start doing fake followers, and not everybody's doing it, right? I mean, a high percentage of people have fake followers, right? And it really comes down to like how many fake followers you have. But the thing is this, as much as you read about it, like, oh, fake followers and, oh my God, it's an epidemic and kids are dying because they have fake followers. I'm being facetious, obviously, but no kids are dying because of fake followers. But it really comes down to if you're a brand, you just look at somebody's engagement. You look at like, if they say have 100,000 followers and they get 1,000 likes on a picture and they get 2 comments, whether that number is true or not true, 2 comments is not real engagement, right? If you have those type of numbers, right? If I was speaking to 100,000 people and I only had 2 questions at the end, so it feels like there would be, if you're producing good content and people like your content, they're going to be more engaged with what you have to say, right? With the content you're putting out there. So, it's the fake follower thing and the fact that you have influence just means, the way I look at it is, back in the day, it was, hey, we post a picture with an influencer, right, on Instagram and we see how well it does. It's not that way anymore. And what I mean by that is, it really comes down to a strategy. You have to figure out, put a plan together, right? So you go to an influencer and say, hey, where do you think you have influence? And well, I have a good followership on Instagram. I've got my blog brings in 100,000 a month, and I've got a 15,000 email list. And so really now what should happen is a brand should say, hey, that's interesting. What we'd be interested in doing is we have a budget of, let's say, $5,000. And what would you do for that $5,000? And the influencer goes, hey, I would post 2 pictures on Instagram. I would do 3 stories. I'd write a blog post about it, and I'd do a vlog about it that would be keyword driven, that would go after the keywords that you want us to go after. And then you as a brand have to go, okay, for $5,000, do I think that's worth it? Right? Because that's the other big question is like, well, what do I pay influencers? How much do I pay an influencer? Well, first of all, we have to quit putting all influencers in one bucket, right? Because everybody has different packages, right? That's like, it's not everybody's the same. So they say, what should I pay an influencer with this, 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 and this? And it really comes down to, what do you think is fair? Like, right, if they tell you this is the package I'm putting together for $5,000 and you look at it and say, okay, I sell $5,000 widgets. All I have to do is sell 2 widgets to break even on this. And do I think this influencer can at least sell 2 widgets for us, right, to break even? Obviously, the goal isn't to break even, but the goal is to at least get your money back, right? And so you just have to figure that out. If you're putting together a campaign and you sell, $1 forks and you have to sell 10,000 forks, you have to go, okay, that campaign that they're putting together, do I think that they're going to be able to push the needle so they sell 10,000 forks? With a lower price point, it sometimes becomes a little more difficult. Once again, depending on the influencer and their audience and stuff like that. But it comes down to a frequency deal. You can't just do one picture. Don't hire an influencer to put up one picture and then expect to move to the Bahamas and drink Coronas and Mai Tais the rest of your life, right? You can do that, but that isn't going to equal the money that you'd be able to do to go retire, right? So the idea is you put a strategy behind it. You have to put a campaign behind it. So every influencer is different. So I usually, when I pursue influencers, I tell them, hey, this is what my budget is. And what would you be willing to do for that budget? And some influencers, this is the other side of it. So the other side of it is a lot of influencers don't know how to put packages together, right? That's what I teach at UCLA, because they go, okay, well, I've got these things going on and I have a brand. The brand wants me to put a package together. Like, what do I do? Like, I don't really know what's a package. Like, what would I, and you say, okay, well, you have to figure out where do you think they're going to get the most traction and what kind of content you're going to have to produce and what that's going to cost you to produce that content. And if that content's going to be a one-time Instagram post that's going to go down in the feed and people aren't going to see it, it's only going to have some traction, mainly in the beginning for the most part. Or is it going to be a blog post that's going to be evergreen that could potentially be number 1 on Google and can continue to bear fruit for them, right? So, there's just a lot of different ways to look at it. And I think, my big thing these days is I do heavy education. So I actually I do a workshop with brands to say, hey, listen, this is how you find influencers. This is how you work with them. This is how you put your brief together. This is what you want to put in your contract. And then I also talk to influencers and say, because a lot of influencers aren't marketers. Right, that's the thing. Is like Helen, the yoga instructor. She's not a marketer. She just has people that really like her and like she's authentic and she's genuine and she does all this great stuff and gives out great content. Well, she a lot of the time doesn't know how to put a package together. So I have a course that I'm coming out with. We've already talked about the howtobeaninfluencer.com is the course, but how you can go there and then what they can do is take a course on personal branding. Like how do you put these packages together? And first of all, before the packages, how do you get your website up, right? How do you get your, your custom email address? Like these basic things that you want to have, right? You don't want to have like hotgirl69@gmail emailing Nike and saying, hey, I want to be your number 1 influencer. And they're going to be like, well, first of all, you have a Gmail account, right? Like you got to kind of like show that you've, right? So, it's cool that you're hot and 69 is awesome, but we got to kind of figure this thing out here a little bit, right? So that's really what it comes down to. And so I'm the education side of it, because I think any of the some of the news about influencers can be negative because once again, it's a new thing and it's like two high school kids getting together to dance. It's kind of like, I'm not really sure where to put my hands or what to do. I'm like, it's kind of this awkward little situation. And I'm here to be, I guess I'm the awkward teacher at the dance that shows you how to dance with each other. That sounds super weird when you say it out loud. But the idea is to help facilitate it, right? That sounds super awkward. But I'm not really going to be at a dance with your kids and making sure that they're holding each other correctly.
I promise. Disclaimer alert.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry. Yeah. Stranger danger. No, really it comes down to just getting it so that brands and influencers can work better together. that's really my goal.
Cool, man. Okay, so a lot of information there. As someone who's in the WordPress space, I guess I hesitate to call myself like an influencer. I understand the concept of I have some certain characteristics of what an influencer would be to because I do this WPMR course, I run this company, I have a little clout in the space after being here for 5, 6, 7 years doing this stuff. I find that in the WordPress community, being a core part of the community is really important. Really loving open source software is pretty vital. Wanting to help others and to kind of help smaller businesses come up after you've come up and give your advice to other people. Those are things that help you be someone who people look up to in the WordPress space. But there are definitely some other strategies involved. I would love to hear a little bit, and this maybe some of the stuff that you're including in your course on how to be an influencer.com. But maybe we could go through just like if someone's kind of starting from zero, they're just kind of like, okay, like this sounds like something that I may be able to do, maybe particularly in like the WordPress space. Like someone wants to say, I'm a pretty good developer, but I don't really have like any visibility online, or like I'm a solid designer, or I'm a solid marketer even, but I don't have a lot of blog posts out, or I don't have an Instagram profile. What are like the first, I don't know, I want to say first three, but like the first steps that you would advise someone to take, just like as someone starting out?
Well, first of all, if your audience is WordPress people, they're starting off. That's where you need to start off, is building a website, right? Because what happens is what we've seen consistently is that whether it's Instagram, it's YouTube, it's whatever, everybody complains about the algorithm, right? So it's like, oh, I used to make so much more money 2 years ago. I made tons of money, and now the algorithm changed, and there's this, there's that, right? So at the end of the day, it really comes down to using WordPress, building your own website, right? Because the idea of all the social platforms that you want to be on, and we'll go over that here in a second, the idea is you want to drive the traffic from those social platforms to your website, right? Or to your course, or to whatever you have going, because that's where your money's at, right? And you control that, right? And not necessarily controlled all the way when it comes to Google and trying to index. That's kind of another conversation. But you you pay your hosting for $10. You pay your $10, $15 a year, or whatever it is, in domain registration fees, and there we go. You own that, right? As long as you're paying those fees, you have that. So that's what I'm teaching people to do. Is like if you're just on Instagram, you're literally waiting to get shut down or have something happen, because the only guarantee is that Facebook is going to. They did it with Facebook, right? All of a sudden you're getting tons of engagement. Everything was awesome. And then all of a sudden overnight, you're like, God, nobody's responding to my stuff. And what do they say? Hey, do you want to boost this post for $7? And you're like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And then they're getting $7 a post, and they're by, times 100 million people. I mean, you do the math, right? And it's not that everybody did it, but my point is you get engagement, you get this, you're getting all this great traction. And what they're going to do is they're going to pull back on that. And then you're going to have to pay for that, right? There's going to be a pay to play. And that's not a problem. That's their model. And they own the site. You don't own Instagram /Shane Barker. You don't. I don't own that. I absolutely do not. They can shut me down for my political views, for anything, right? I'm not trying to be negative, but really at the end of the day, they can shut you down in a hot second. But if you diversify, if you have other platforms like Instagram and Facebook or whatever this is, wherever you want to produce content, and that's another thing too, is that you have to produce content where you want to produce content, right? Like if I go, hey, Joe, you really need to jump into video, and you're like, but I hate the way I look on video, and we're going to fight for 3 months, 6 months, you're never going to do a video. You're going to kick and scream all the way, right? And I can understand the first one is always weird because people always hate the way, the first blog article I wrote was terrible. Oh, yeah. In fact, I showed it to my students, and they're like, Dad, that's terrible. And I'm like, exactly. Now I'm teaching you. So you do the math on that one, right? So, but it's the thing with video. Like you feel like, oh, this is terrible, and I'm stuttering, and I look terrible, and the lighting's not good. If you're only worried about that small thing, you can get past that. You just keep doing it. But if you say, listen, I stayed up all last night with anxiety, and I was throwing up this morning thinking about doing the video, probably you're not going to do that many videos, right? So you have to figure out, where do you want to produce that content? And once again, all that content should be produced with the goal of driving it back to your WordPress site, right? That's where the money's at. That's where you're always consistently going to have control over that. And there's a lot of different ways to do it through social, and there's obviously SEO, and there's PPC that you can do. There's a lot of different ways that you can drive that traffic to your website and be able to convert them. And influencer marketing is no different. Like the idea of influencer marketing is to get people to buy things, or get people to, if you're looking for more eyeballs or exposure, you have to figure out what your KPIs are, right? Your key performance indicators, or what your goals are. And then you build a campaign around that. And then you have to have some things, that obviously you talk about KPIs, like, well, how am I going to know that somebody closed a deal, right? How do I know that Shane, when he posted this video, that he was the one that brought, all the boys to the yard, and, once again, I know all kinds of sales happen. Well, that's coupon codes and some other stuff we'll talk about. But really, it comes down to, like I said, if you're in WordPress, you should build a website. You have to have that. That's going to be very, very key to this whole thing, and use everything else as just a tool to drive the traffic.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Christy and I have done some episodes on open source versus closed source, and talked a lot about this exact thing. If you have an Instagram account with 100,000 followers, it could get shut down tomorrow because you post something about your political views, like you say, and the 10 top people on Instagram came together and said, actually, we don't really like this person, we're going to shut it down. But WordPress open source. So when you buy your hosting, when you install WordPress, the GPL language tells you that is your content. You own that content, and you can publish what you want there. So yeah, we're big believers in owning your content and democratizing publishing here in the WordPress space for sure.
Yeah, you have to, man, because if once again, it's your stuff can get shut down for no reason, and they don't have to tell you why. I've had big clients that on Instagram or wherever, they've gotten shut down, and we go back, and really at the end of the day, Facebook and Instagram, nothing against them, but they don't really care unless you're an advertiser for the most part, right? I mean, if you're spending big bucks, then you get the private phone number, and you get Helen that will answer the call because you're spending $100,000 a month. But if you're Joe Blow, the political guy that loves or hates Trumps and wrote something crazy on there and they shut your account down, yeah, you're going to get crickets, my friend. You don't get the private phone number to, where Helen's going to answer. Helen's going to be like, she's not going to answer that call, right? Because you're not spending money, and that's the reality of it. And so you have to go fight to get your account back. And we have been able to get some of our clients' stuff back, and it doesn't happen all the time where it gets banned, but when it does, I'll tell you, you wake up and your number one source of revenue, and then all of a sudden it's shut down, and you talk about helpless. That sucks.
Yeah.
But your website will always be solid, as long as you have the hosting up and you're not getting, spam with links and all the other fun stuff that we have to fight. But it's yours, and you will always have that. So, you want to protect it.
Yeah, I hear that for sure. Okay, we talked a little bit about social stuff as well. So using social media to drive traffic to your website. As a fellow marketer, I'm big in the inbound marketing and content marketing stuff. So we write a lot of content and try and drive traffic that way. But we don't have as much luck driving as much traffic from social media. Like if you look at our Google Analytics, you'll see like referral traffic, and like 90% of our traffic comes from organic search, and then like 5% comes from referral, and then 3% comes direct, and then there's like this little, little 1 to 2% coming from email and social media. So as someone whose organization is, I wouldn't necessarily say we're bad at social media, but I would say we're bad at driving traffic, especially meaningful traffic that will subscribe to our email list, traffic that will sign up for one of our care plans or this WPM or our WordPress course, traffic that will pay us money for something or truly become part of our audience in terms of people we can reach directly, like via an email list. Social, we're not as good at driving the traffic from social. So maybe we could talk a little bit about, we could do like a mini coaching session here and help me think about some of the strategies we could use, not only to like drive more traffic via social, but like what aspects can we do to make social more meaningful for us?
Yeah, I mean, social is kind of a bear just in the sense because you're talking about, you guys are having the WordPress space, right? So you're not going to see too many people that are on Instagram that go, I'm going to go follow Joe because all he talks about is WordPress. It is so hot. Like I wake up on a Saturday morning, right? And then you're like, God, Joe talks about code and it just gets me revved up, right? It's just not as sexy, right? So Instagram, as an example, is more like lifestyle and this, that, and the other. I'm drinking my chai tea on my private jet with my pink poodle and I'm eating caviar.
That was
probably
yesterday.
All that's fake.
That was yesterday.
Right?
That's what happened.
A typical day. No, I hear you. That's me. I'm like, I actually just came down to my private jet. Yeah. I was actually a dream, but that was the closest I've gotten to my jet. But that's the thing is like, it really depends on where you think your audience is going to be. And social is becoming more difficult, right? Because I think because there's just so much, right? There's so many different places to get content. And that's why I think, it's important for companies, like let's say yours as an example, to figure out where you think your audience is at, right? And if you say, hey, I think it's Instagram, I might disagree, right? I'm not saying there are not people there that use WordPress. Obviously there is, but you're probably not going to go to Instagram for WordPress information, right? The reason why 90% of your traffic is from Google organic is because if I want questions about WordPress, I'm like, okay, where do I go? Is it Twitter? Maybe, right? Facebook? Nah, not really. It's going to be Google, right? I'm going to go in Google search. I'm going to go to Quora. I'm going to find out where people are asking certain questions. And then, so that's why you've optimized for that. Like your breakdown of your traffic is like almost the same as mine. Like I get almost all of my stuff is organic because I write about, marketing. So if somebody wants to know about SEO, they're not going to go look at, cool, hot Shane on Instagram to find out what he's talking about SEO, right?
I'm following that account right now. So
yeah, you should. It's pretty popular because I'm going to create it right when we get off this podcast. No, and that's the thing is, so you're not really going to get that, right? It's like, where I'm not saying you shouldn't have one. Maybe it's for your own personal stuff or thing you're doing, or but you can use Instagram for like your course, or you can talk about people that have had successes in your course, right? And testimonials, and hey, this is John, and here's a 15 thing John's talking about how he went from $0 to $10,000 a month. Whatever that is, like people are like that, right? Because it's keeping the dream alive, and people are like, oh, it's exciting that somebody took Joe's course and he's crushing it because of that, and it's only a $97 investment, but yet this guy made 10 grand. So that's where things can get interesting, right? In regards to the type of content that you think, right? So for that, it's not necessarily going after the WordPress professional. You're going after the person that wants to be get into WordPress because they feel like there's riches there. There's money to be made if you take my course. It'll make it so you're gonna, I'm gonna give you the 10 years of knowledge here in this, 17-hour course or whatever, 10-hour course, and you're gonna be able to be, once again, you're gonna be able to go in and be able to do things faster and not have to spend the 10 years that I spent understanding like how we do things, right? So I'm gonna streamline that. It's like a mentor. And so there we go. So now the person says, hey, I want to do a website, and I'm not a big WordPress person, but I can take your course and at least, be 80% closer to where I need to be than where I'm at right now.
Yeah, gotcha. So I think we try to do a little bit of social strategy in terms of we find that different channels are good for certain aspects of sharing who we are. So like our Twitter account is kind of about sharing our content and sharing content maybe we've been featured in, or it allows us to build relationships with people by like tagging people who we've included in articles and saying like, hey, like we included you, this plugin, like thanks for being awesome. You're, part of our list. And then maybe they'll retweet us. And so we can kind of get in front of other audiences that way and kind of share that like hashtag WordPress community on Twitter. Instagram is you're right. Like we don't find that anybody's going to Instagram, like retweet like a specific WordPress thing unless it's around or regram or whatever it is on Instagram to like really do that high engagement stuff. Unless it's around WordCamps, there's some WordCamp activity on Instagram, but we try to use it really more for like a window into WP buffs to make us just like, so people can get to know us. So it's really more about like our remote team, and people can come and see like, what are they doing? Like, oh, there's Helen in front of a huge Gundam in Japan. And like, there's Diego who just ran like a 100-mile race, like in the middle of the desert. And it's like, whoa, okay. So I know this team does this stuff, but like, I wanted to learn more about them as people. And so we try to use, exactly. So we try to use Instagram more for that. Does that sound like decent 100%. Strategy?
Yeah, because you're probably, the idea of it is that you want to show that there's real people behind this, and people kind of like that, right? Because I want to know, like, I can go take Joe's course, but when I see that you're doing this and you're traveling and doing this, and I'm like, God, it seems like he's out there living a great life, and obviously it's because of his course and the knowledge that he has, and he's obviously doing some things that are right? It's not like if you had on your Instagram, you're like homeless and eating out of garbage cans, or like, I don't know if I'm going to take Joe's course because he's eating out of garbage cans. Not that you can't eat out of garbage cans. I'm just saying they might think that you're not doing good, right? There's that, they're judging you, obviously, so totally judging.
I don't know. There's this new millennial trend of going and grabbing fresh food from the garbage. It's not bad yet, so people may think I'm cool for doing that. I don't know.
You know what's crazy about that? And this is I'm going right. And we were just talking left. There was just I was watching the Charlie Manson, like his little group of people that he had, the way that they would get food, the way that they didn't have to they would go into trash cans. They would go to like bakeries the day after. Yeah. And so when you said that, I was like, I guess that probably could be pretty fresh food. It's in plastic bags. And so when you said that, I instantly thought Charlie Manson. Who doesn't think about Charlie Manson when it comes to grabbing food out of
before? I want people to associate with that. So great.
Millennials and Charlie Manson. It's it's like hand in hand. There we go. Just kidding, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, so I also want to talk about, and we touched about this a little bit, like the word influencer. People sometimes, it can be like a trigger word for certain people who are just like, don't want any of that language. Yeah. Like if people have followed me on Twitter, and seen like my cover photo of my background, this is the thing that I feel like I've done that's been the most like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel uncomfortable in this, like, is this kind of an influencer sort of thing that I've done? Because my cover photo on Twitter is me like sitting in a hammock on my laptop, like in front of this icy mountain in the background. Okay, cool. And I'm not going to lie. Okay. It's a super dope picture. That was an awesome trip. It was really cool. But even putting it up there, I almost felt like it was a real moment. Like I was doing work in the hammock and someone took a picture of me. But it almost feels like show-offy a little bit to me. How do you meld that? Like, I want to get more followers and I want people to think I'm impressive because some of the stuff I do is impressive. Like, of course, like I want to be humble, but like some of the stuff I do is kind of cool. So like, I do want to share that. How do you find the balance between, sharing or maybe potentially oversharing and trying to be humble and real? I feel like there's a middle ground there, but I'm not exactly sure how to find it.
See, the way I look at that is like, I did see your picture and I did instantly think, God, what a douche. No, totally kidding you.
This guy?
No, for me, I looked at that and I was like, that's where I would want to be. Right. Because I have a whole remote team too. So for me, I travel a lot, and the hammock and the mountains behind it and you on your laptop, like literally could have been me. Like if I sent that picture to my wife and cut out the head, she'd be like, when did you go there? Like that looks, you're right. Obviously we're like twins, right? We look identical, but yeah. So no, I mean, I don't think there's a problem with that, right? Because you're just saying, hey, this is a great picture. And this is kind of the lifestyle that I live because I'm a remote worker, right? And I travel and I'm a kind of a digital nomad. There's not a problem with that. There's people that want that type of lifestyle. And guess what? If you're going to go do WordPress stuff, the cool part about WordPress, all you really need is an internet connection, right? So to be able to get onto that. So I think it keeps the dream alive of like WordPress is the avenue for making money and for traveling if that's what you want to do, right? So your picture to me screams freedom. It screams like, hey, I can get some stuff done, but look at this view, right? And people can look at that as bragging. Like, oh, you're just bragging. I'm like, well, but at the end of the day, you would like to be here too. I mean, you would, right? I mean, let's just be honest. It's not. And so to me, I mean, that's like me. So I do speaking events. And on my profiles, I have pictures of me at a speaking event. Now, am I bragging or am I maybe a teeny bit, but I'm also telling people I'm a speaker. I want them to know that, right? And for you want to say, listen, I work hard, but also, and I've got some great views around me and I'm enjoying it. I have this work-life balance. I'm sitting back, I'm drinking a beer and I'm on my laptop. I'm getting a few things done. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I guess you have to figure out what you think your audience likes, right? I think the audience wants a lifestyle like that. I would say most people, I do. Let's say, I'll just speak for myself. I enjoy that. I look at that and go, man, that would be awesome. I would love to go to that mountain. I'd love to be in that hammock and I'd love to be hanging out like that. So for me, I think that's awesome that you're doing that. I mean, for me, that's more of a lifestyle thing, but I'm a traveler. I like doing that. So I like those pictures. I go, God, where was that at? And then I'm going to engage with that because I want to know, like, how do I get to that spot? How do I get to your hammock that you were just in?
Yeah.
Right. To me, I don't look at it as like bragging. I mean, I guess if you were like saying, oh, made another $1 million today and crushing it. And, it's like you're like slapping kids on the way out. Yeah. Look at me. I'm a big deal. Then, okay, I get it. Joe's a big deal. Like, but I don't even have to tell everybody. You don't have to slap kids on the way out of the door. It's kind of weird. But the idea of it is like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really, really don't. I think if people have a problem with that, then that's their own things. Like, why would you to put a picture of that? Like, to me, it's like, what's the problem with it? Like, there's nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. Yeah. And I just think you're just showing that you're living a good life. And there's not, what do you think social media is, for God's sake? That's why everybody's happy on Facebook. And I put my air quotes up. Everybody's, we want to show like, hey, what we're out there doing and having fun and, taking part and, enjoying life.
Yeah, probably important I think anybody who grows their own business or is an entrepreneur, as they start to see success in their business, like you're almost by default going to have more visibility in the space. And it's important to remember, like, not everyone is going to love you, and hopefully not everyone is going to hate you, but you're never going to make everyone happy. So it's important to do what you think your audience likes and not try and appease every single person out there.
You'll never make everybody happy. This is the thing too, is you have to realize if people start to hate you, then that means you're on the radar. I mean, really though, it really is. And it's hard for people to understand that. But really at the end of the day, if people are starting to hate you for whatever reason, it'll be a small amount of people, let them hate you. Just let it roll right off you. Because at the end of the day, that means you're on their radar. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I actually love that. I kind of want to even highlight what you just said a little bit more. Like, we've had people duplicate our entire website over at WP Buffs, trying to just duplicate what we've done. And not like, we teach a course on it, so we want people to get into the maintenance space, but like, we've had people like literally duplicate like word for word the exact website on like 3 different occasions. And the first time it happened, I got pissed. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is BS. Yeah. Like, I can't believe they did this. And by the third time, I was just like, oh, so like we've gotten somewhere. Like it's almost flattering that you want to like duplicate my business. Like, thank you, but like, don't do that. But like, it's cool. Like, we've gotten to a point where we've made a lot of people happy, but there are some people who are going to take those this, I guess, wasn't a hater example, but it's a taking it in the negative direction example. And that's going to happen as you gain more visibility places. So I totally hear that.
I mean, trust me, it's, somebody went and copied something word for me. I'm not going to be happy either. But the cool part is that people are copying you, right? Which that means that you're a leader. That means somebody's looking up to you, and even, and you have to realize, I've realized this over the years, like, I used to be really protective of whatever I was doing, of this. I can't tell people this, can't do this. And now I'm just an open book. I'll share anything I've done, open this or this is what works, this is what doesn't work. Because for me, it's just easier that way, right? And that way I pull in clients because they go, man, it seems like you've done this and you said you had issues here and this. I'm just very transparent about things. I was always worried back, 10 years ago that, like, with one of my other businesses, that somebody would, they're going to take this and they're going to be able to open a business like I do. But the thing is, they don't have the experience that I have. They don't have the 25 years of what I've went through, the right turns and left turns and this, and being slapped in the face and being kicked here and doing this. Like, that has built my business today. And there's nobody that can do that the way that I did it, right? I mean, they can learn some stuff from it, but there's nobody that's going to take over, my thing that I've built, right? And so when they go and they take it, it does suck, because at the end of the day, you're like, little bastards, you cheating, and you're like, I'm gonna find you, and I'm gonna shut your stuff down. But it's a flattering still.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too, because you can take my entire website, put it somewhere else, rebrand it. Good luck. Like, the reason my business is successful is not just because of the website. Like, there was a lot of painstaking, painful challenges and successes, and a lot of experience that got us where we are today. And so good luck,
Yeah, that can't happen overnight. And you have a network, right? I mean, and that means that somebody have to go to the podcast, they do this. Like, they're not going to, they're going to chip away at your business, and they'll take their 2-3%, whatever it is. But really, at the end of the day, they're not going to have the traction that you have. It takes time to do that. And it's just not an overnight type thing.
Yeah, totally. I would love to finish off a little bit here, kind of wrap things up by going on the opposite side of things. We started and kind of talked to people about, like, if you're starting off, like, what can you do to, push more in this direction and push your social media out there and, get more visibility and all this. I would love to talk a little bit about what the other side looks like once you've gained traction and have, I guess I'll say a large audience, because it does differ depending on the context, right? For some industries, like 100,000 people is going to be a lot. For some, like 5 million is a lot. But I want to talk a little bit about the pressure of having a lot of visibility online and how that can affect the kind of content you're putting out there. Like, I feel like I don't know anybody with like 5 million Instagram followers, but I would feel like they'd feel a little bit of pressure every time they push the publish button, because there are so many people looking at all their stuff. But I think about people like Joe Rogan, who has this podcast that's listened to by, millions of people, but he just like keeps that shit pretty real and is just like talks about whatever he wants to. Yeah. So it's kind of, there's examples of each, but have you found that like people feel pressure to almost like keep what they've done to get those followers and keep putting out the same content, even as like they evolve as a person and change? Maybe they want to post new content, but they can't because they have, they got to 100,000 followers who want X kind of content, even though they want to do Y content.
So, well, first of all, the reason why nobody talks shit about Joe Rogan is because he can kick their ass, right? That's first of all. That's like
kettlebell to
his content's, yeah, exactly. I mean, not to mention his content's good, but he can also. I mean, he actually had a heckler that. There was like a video. I have to look it up. I can't remember the name of it. But like Joe Rogan got into it with a guy that was talking shit about him, and he went and met the guy, and they like wrestled. And of course, Joe, puts him in a hold, and anyway. So I think it's kind of funny, but. When it comes down to content, so here's the issue, and this is what some people don't see. Like what I teach at UCLA is, I ask people, hey, what do you expect from the course, and what do you want to do, right? So it's like I want to be in the Bahamas, and I want to be in a bikini, and I want to do yoga, and I want to drink my chai latte, and that's all great. If that's the lifestyle you want to live, that's perfect, But what happens is what people don't understand about influencers is that when you're an influencer, you have to be on stage. Right. And so what I tell people is, hey, the minute you quit performing, like the minute you quit doing your podcast, you quit writing content, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go over to John Howard, your competitor, right? And they're going to start looking at his stuff and going, well, he's given a lot of information out, and Joe I don't know what happened to Joe. Like, I think he's over at he's in that hammock, and he lost his laptop, and we don't know what happened to him, right? It's been 2-3 months. So it's the same thing with Instagram. It's the same thing of all this stuff. If you're not producing content, and you start, people used to seeing you once a day, and then you're doing it once a week, and then it's once a month, and it's once every 2 months, they're going to find somebody else. And that's just how it goes. And people don't understand what that does to people, like if you're an influencer, some people go, oh, poor influencer. Like, there's people that are using, what is it, Twitch. And they're like these, Ninja and all these other guys that are making, $1 million a day or whatever the number is. And he goes, yeah, but I have to work 18 hours a day. And they go, oh yeah, but you're making $100,000 a day. Like, what are you complaining about? But like literally, if he doesn't work 18 hours, if he took a day off, it could affect his income by $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Now, I get it. Hey, just take a day off. But the thing is this, is once you're in that limelight, you're performing and you're putting out content, and either everybody loves you and they're clapping their hands, or you put something out, or you take a day off, for God's sakes, things can switch. Things can change on you, and it can happen overnight. I mean, I had one of my clients that was, always in the limelight, always talking about this and doing this, and had a great following, and, was very heavily engaged. They all loved her. But one of the issues with her, she had like 5 boyfriends a year. But she posts about all of them. Oh, here goes John. Oh, things great. Oh, I'm here with, Howard. Oh, I'm here with, Michelle. And it's like, people are like, God, you're out there just doing your thing. Like, you're having sex with it. Like, and so people started kind of going off a little bit. And she's like, oh, I can't believe this. And we were kind of talking about it. And I'm like, hey, it's important to be honest. But the problem is she's always on stage. She was talking about everything in her life, right? No different than a celebrity. Like, celebrities don't always say that, but you have paparazzi that's running around. So when you're sharing these intimate things in your life, you have to realize that you're giving up something, right? The Kardashians have billions of dollars. That's awesome. But they can't go anywhere, right? You know everything about their life, whether it's true or not true, who knows, right? But can you imagine jumping, if you're Kanye West or anybody, and you jump into that family and you're like, I don't want a little privacy? Nah, wrong family, not picking it. Because guess what? If you're not on stage moving your hands and just giving everybody a performance, I mean, that's part of the whole thing. Is like, and it's one of the things being an influencer is like you get to a point, I mean, you look at YouTube, like if you're a prankster, what's the next level, right? There's always has to be something that's the next level, right? So we have, somebody that they used to have, what was it back in the day? God, what was the name of them? The guys who do all the stunts on MTV. And I might be dating myself on this. like all these guys that used to do crazy, crazy stunts. And
was it like the Jackass guys or like the...
Yeah, Jackass. Okay. That was them.
Cool.
I didn't watch a lot of TV, so I was a little sheltered. But but that's the thing is like, next you're, hammering a nail into your privates or something. Like what, like that wouldn't happen 3 quarters ago or whatever, 3 seasons ago, but now so it's like, what do you have to do? And that's what influencers or people that are influential, like you're always producing content, but they're very emotional to the ups and downs of what happens. So when you get an algorithm change, it's hard for them, and I know people go, oh, poor influencer. Now they're not going to be able to get their gold Corvette or something. It's something, it's more than that, right? Really, it comes down to, it's like, you have to be out there. You have to be putting on the show. And if you don't put on the show, somebody else is going to do that. So, you have to figure out, is that the life that you want to live? Do you want to put a magnifying glass on your life? Assuming that's what you're, that's what you're going to be doing, is some kind of, you can be a writer, a blogger. Like I can walk in the street and not have anybody notice me, right? I'm not that big of a deal by any means, right? But if I was on Instagram and I was doing pranks and doing that, I was big in Sacramento, who knows? I might not be able to do that. Or, it's just, you got to figure out what you're going to be giving up in regards to your life, what you're willing to expose in your life for the world to see for, potentially money.
Yeah, good thing for people to think about now if they're starting off or starting to get a little bit of visibility in whatever space you're in. Do you want to keep rolling, going in that direction? Or do you want to, grow your business or do your thing without as much visibility? I guess people have the choice, but cool. I think it's a good place to wrap up today. Shane, thanks for coming on. Let's give people the new course that you have started, howtobeaninfluencer.com.
Yeah, you guys can go over there. We actually have email templates that you guys can use. You can download them for free, and you can actually send them out to brands. So the idea of it is you can use these as templates to pitch brands that you want to work with. And then if anybody needs to get in contact with me, you either, obviously, howtobeaninfluencer.com is the site for influencers. If you're a brand or an agency and you're looking to learn more about influencer marketing, you want to jump in the space, I do personal workshops as well. But you can reach me. This is my personal email at just Shane, and that's SHANE at ShaneBarker.com. Go and take a look at the website, sign up for the newsletter, and let's chat.
Cool, man. You beat me to the second question, which was, where can people find you? If you're starting off and you don't have as much, social clout or whatever, or you just kind of want to learn more about this stuff, howtobeaninfluencer.com is a great place to get started. And go check out, Shane has some free templates there. I'm on the site right now, and I was just checking out some of those free templates that look pretty cool. Social profiles, can people find you on like Twitter or Instagram or any of that?
Yeah, you can go on Twitter. So on Twitter, it's just Shane_Barker. On Instagram, it's just Shane Barker. And then also on LinkedIn, it's Shane Barker as well. I was able to grab all of them except Twitter. I've threatened the guy. I've done everything. I've sent people over to his house and he just won't give up it. And so, what do you do?
Nice, man. We've got the same problem. Someone who has never tweeted and never, no activity on the profile has WP buffs. So we are the WP buffs, but I've tried. We have the patent or the trademark on WP buffs, and still they're technically not violating Twitter's terms of service. So tell me about a closed system that doesn't care about me because I'm not paying them advertising dollars.
That's exactly it. People can squat on stuff. Unless you're Will Smith or something, nobody's going to listen to you when it comes to the squatting.
There you go. I'll give Will a DM and see if he can help me out there.
He'll definitely help.
Cool, man. Okay, last but not least, I always ask our guests to ask our audience to give this podcast a little 5-star iTunes review. So if you wouldn't mind giving our audience a little ask, I'd appreciate it.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Shane Barker, also known as Wolverine. Why don't you guys to go do us a huge favor and give us a 5-star rating for this podcast, man? I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. When you leave a review, make sure you leave Shane's name in the comments, something maybe you learned about the episode or something cool you're going to try with influencer stuff. We'll shoot a screenshot and shoot it over to him and thank him for getting us a little iTunes review there. WPMRR.com/iTunes. You have a redirect going on right there to make it nice and easy for you. If you're a new listener to the show, you already binge all of your TV shows. Why not binge something that'll help you grow your WordPress business? Go check out some old episodes, WPMRR.com/podcast. We got tons of episodes on there. So no matter what challenge or thing you're facing right now, we probably did an episode about it. So go through the old logs and see if you can find something you can listen to maybe later today or this weekend that will shed some light there. If you have questions for us on the show, Chrissy and I love to do Q&A episodes. So we'd love to answer some more of your questions about anything. I don't care. It could be WordPress, could not be WordPress, could be totally random. I don't care. We'll answer them on the show. yo@WPMRR.com. I man that inbox personally, so I will get back to you and we'll get your question answered on the pod at WPMRR.com. If you are representing an agency in the WordPress space, or maybe you're a freelancer, you want to do more monthly recurring revenue stuff. So we've open sourced the stuff we do at WP Buffs, 24/7 care plans. Open sourced it, created a video course around it. Shane and I are big course people, so we have the video course here as well. And check out the course. There you go. Cool. If you're interested in that, go check it out. It's a cool course. Shane's a cool guy. He'll teach you some stuff for sure. This college professor can definitely help you move forward in that area. Cool. We will be back next Tuesday for another episode because, like Shane said, we don't want to stop producing content. We want to keep putting new great content in front of you. So we're going to keep going. So Shane, thanks a lot for being on, man. It's been real.
Hey, thanks for having me, Joe.